So here you see our checkpoint page, and I would now ask you to go ahead and fill out what your takeaways are, what have you learned in this section, and then what is still a little bit muddy to you and how can you get clarification. This is a zero lecture, so I leave that up to you. I will, however, take you through our final checkpoints because we want to know what the goals here were of this very short, very brief video lecture. So first of all, of course, we may not believe it yet, but maybe it is true that the engineering concepts are really universal and that they are very helpful for any engineering discipline. So engineers need this no matter what your discipline is. And if you believe it, please check it off with me. If not, then good luck to you throughout the semester. I'm also aware now that the lecture content, of course, is individualized and separated so that we have single focused topics that we can build up on, and that will help us to maneuver the class effectively. However, please be aware, as you find in the text above, that these topics are actually interconnected. So although I break those down for you, engineers need to connect the knowledge or pull the information together. That's very important. And I encourage you to always keep an eye on that ball effectively. So do not get this out of sight that yes, we try to spoon feed you some information in education, but ultimately engineers really need to apply knowledge from all facets. You cannot think in terms of classes. You need to think as an engineer, holistic. But this is something later for your career. Right now, we obviously want to think about individual topics and we want to learn about them. But later on, you need to understand that all the knowledge needs to be pulled together. So don't lose sight of that. However, let's move on to the next box, which also tells us something about the homework. And we talked about this at other locations as well. But every lecture is accompanied by a homework assignment. So we know that. And you can master this homework by means of the knowledge provided in the lecture. So this is all knowledge that can be found in each individual lecture. And hopefully you believe me at this point. Later on, hopefully you will be convinced by applying that. Then you are aware at this point that there's such thing as a 4-digit ID. You find more information about this on the web in locations that are laid out for you. And these 4-digit IDs can be used to create your personal homework variables or your personal numbers, if you will. So that I can check off as well. And then last but not least, I know about all these rules, right? So the general engineering rules, which include the 4 significant figures, double underlining, brackets for the final units, and so on. And I will hopefully from now on always apply those for any engineering task. This is just good practice, and if you're convinced that this is good, please check it off with me. All right, so this concludes this current lecture, Lecture 0B, in which we covered a little bit the teaching philosophy and the philosophy behind engineering mechanics. Then we talked a little bit about the engineering rules and why they apply, and I encourage you to read all about this and how we need to maneuver the homework and all the calculations that we cover in this class. So that means we are now ready to move on to Lecture 0C, which I will see you for in another video. And there we will cover some of the basics that you need to bring from a geometry standpoint. So we will talk about trigonometry and some other basics that are technically expected from you at this point, but my experience is that not everybody comes with the same knowledge to the class, and therefore I create some of these zero lectures so that you can be prepared, or at least now use the time to prepare yourself before we dive into engineering mechanics. So I will see you in the next lecture. Until then, stay safe.